Welcome to Paper Movies, a novelization book club. The month is August, and we are going to be discussing aliens. And lately, this podcast has also been known as the Men with Beards. And as Adam pointed out, we are the Men with Beards podcast in the dark. So that's the secondary name for the Paper Movies novelization book club podcast. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just a little tired. Had a little bit of a busy day, but other than that, pretty good. Most of my day was finishing this book, and because I had a few chapters left, and also watching the movie because I like to watch the movie, and read the book, just to kind of have a good comparison.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. I tend to watch the movie first and then read the book. Helps me move along a lot faster when reading the book, and also easier for me to point out differences, even though I may still miss some. But yeah.
Also, we also have a sponsor. We have a Paper Movies beverage now. Goes with our color scheme, But no, I'm just kidding. It's just flavored water, but I just couldn't help it. But
it's novelization flavored water.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which in some of the conditions that we buy these in, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not.
A little moldy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So Aliens is a novelization written by Alan Dean Foster. He also wrote the Alien novelization, which was fantastic. We did that discussion, I think, a year or two ago with Jeremy. And as you could see, Jeremy is not joining us in this episode or any other episode in the near future. He has been busy with school. He announced that a couple months ago when we did our Indiana Jones novelization review for, what was that, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And me and Adam also did a live stream last week, which we kind of brought that up again and had some fun talking with everybody in the Paper Movies community. Paper Munity. That's the term for you folks, right? Paper Munity.
What's up to our Paper Munity? There we go.
Wow. So,
but yes,
aliens.
Sorry. I was gonna say Jeremy is still, one of our, hosts, and he'll be doing some single cuts like behind the scenes and everything, and posting them to our audio site Anchor. But he's just not able to join us just for the streams for the time being. So,
right.
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're good. So, Aliens, a novelization by Alan Dean Foster, based on the screenplay by James Cameron. Now, the story is by James Cameron, David Giler, and Walter Hill, based on characters created by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. Hopefully I said that right. The film Aliens was released in 1986, starring Sigourney Weaver and a lot of other actors and actresses that I'm not going to name off, but it's an entertaining film. A sequel to Alien, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this book, we're with Ripley, okay, who has just escaped the alien attack that took out her entire crew, and she had to blow up the ship that they were all on. She's on an escape boat, I guess is what they called it, kind of like an escape pod, and 50-something years later, she's discovered, and she had no idea that it had been that long. She learns that she had a child that grew up and actually died in her 60s. So Ripley is a lot older than she was when she went to sleep after the events of Alien. And now the company that she worked for is a little irritated that she blew up the ship that they had and the supply, which I can't remember exactly what it was, the product that they had on board. I guess like some minerals or something that they had been harvesting. Forgive me for not knowing exactly that, but they're kind of mad at her about that and want to suspend her license to be a freighter pilot. And so she's upset about that. And she tries to tell them about this alien attack that happened and that they picked up this alien species on a planet, L something. I don't think that really matters. Adam was saying it earlier. I can't recall the name of the planet, but in the book they referred it to as Acheron. Ripley tries to tell him, hey, we need to go and you guys got to obliterate this thing or just don't let anybody go there. Turns out there are people living there. They're trying to terraform this planet, make it a livable planet, putting these big atmospheric machines to try to change the atmosphere to make it breathable and sustainable to support life. And yeah, so there's a crew there living there, and suddenly there's the breakout of aliens, and the whole community is basically wiped out. And we learn in the novelization that one of the guys actually has somebody go out to the ship where these aliens were and kind of woke them all up, and chaos erupts. So now they send out the Marines to go wipe out this alien species, while one company man is there to try to harvest one of these aliens and bring it back for, money. Got to do some experimentation and see if they could do some sort of a weapons development program out of the alien. But Ripley, she joins them kind of against her will at first, but then decides, you know what, I think this is going to be good. I'm going to go be a consultant with the Marines that go out there to try to save the people and destroy these aliens. And it just goes haywire. So that's, yeah. Now they've got to try to survive.
Aliens, yeah.
Yeah. There's aliens. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Not just one.
A lot of them, yeah. Yeah.
So what did you think? What did you think, Adam, about the author, Alan Dean Foster, in this book? Did you appreciate his writing style, such as like his pacing, the descriptions? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to say this. I remember when the three of us read Alien for the first time, and we were just completely blown away by how great it was. It was very well paced, very well written. But the thing that I believe I remember saying was that I could see this as like, it was a novelization, but it felt like a novel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could believe that it was a novel before it was a film with how well it was written. Now, don't get me wrong. This Aliens, I thought was well paced and, was written very well, but I just didn't find the exact same, I didn't get the same vibe from it. I felt like I was like, oh, this felt like it structured like a novelization, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. See, I agree with your feelings about Alien. I think that was a 5 stars from all three of us. That was like a Paper Movies approved novelization.
A stamp of approval, yeah.
Yeah, I got the stamp of approval. It was a fantastic novelization, and for me, the Aliens novelization, in my opinion, was awesome. I think that Alan Dean Foster did an outstanding job with the descriptions, like making you feel like you're on the planet. The way that he would dive deeper into some of the events that were taking place. There's a great explanation, and we could get into like some of the changes later on, but he does such a fantastic job when he introduces the new concepts that we didn't see in the film. I thought that read like, man, this is like an original story or something. But I thought he did a really good job with this novelization and making it feel like a standalone type of a story. I did appreciate that the language was a lot cleaner in the book. I think there was one F-bomb that was used in the story, maybe 2. And the rest, I believe, was all pretty clean. So
not for the movie. Yeah.
Not yeah. And the movie had a lot of language.
Yeah. Alan Dean Foster is a great author, and he did great with this book. I really enjoyed it as far as like novelizations go. It was great. I just didn't really, I don't know. It's just like the first Alien novelization. Like I said, it just kind of felt like, somebody reading like a flawless masterpiece for the first time. I'm just throwing a title out there, Jurassic Park, the original novel Jurassic Park. But it's just, I remember just like Alien, just like like really grabs you. And but with Aliens, it was a great novel. I just didn't. It wasn't like a hundred
Yeah, I get
percent
it.
all there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, it's like how Alien felt like the book was written first, and then they made a movie based off the book.
Mm-hmm.
And Aliens, you feel is like, yeah, I could tell they made the movie first and then wrote the book.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that too.
But
But
no,
like,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
is it like to get into some of those like descriptions and stuff of how like his word choices and stuff with this planet Ashron when it's talking about the derelict ship, where the alien eggs were. I like he describes it. I wrote it down here. It says it resembled the reaching arms of a prone dead man locked in advanced rigor mortis. Like I thought, man, that's awesome because in the film that ship is just laying, kind of on its side with its arm, like the two narrow parts sticking up into the air. And I thought that was a cool comparison to say compare it to a dead person with their arms just kind of like stuck up in rigor mortis. It's like, man, that's an interesting way to put it.
I will also say this. I had only seen like Aliens, or at least a good portion of it, like once, and it was years back. I am not fluent in this franchise as Jeremy is,
Yeah.
but um, what I will give this book a lot of praise for is that I was listening to the audiobook at work, and normally I'm a little nervous about listening to books before or reading the books before I rewatch the movie because I'm worried I'm going to get lost. No, actually, I was able to keep up. I never got lost. I was fully understanding what was going on. I didn't have to like backtrack or anything. So
Right.
that in itself deserves a lot of praise. So like I said, Alan Dean Foster is really good with, like you said, the description and the pacing and everything, and keeping you invested. So
Yeah. And I think it's cool how he does this because Aliens is a sci-fi horror, right? And we definitely get the horror in the novelization, and we get it in the film, obviously. But like the sci-fi stuff, it feels futuristic, but it also feels relatable. It's because it's
mhm.
not too far out there. It's not too like they still have the firearms. They're using some have like a laser type weapons, but they're also using like shotgun. So it's not
Yes.
like all the way out there in this weird type of technology that we can't understand.
And
It's
yeah,
all written
like
out pretty well.
I believe one of those had like a built-in flamethrower, at least what we saw in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So they're keeping it kind of old school. The movie feels great. It's like a real gritty and stuff. And I feel like the book is also it just kind of reads gritty as well. If that makes any sense to anybody.
um, I was gonna ask. I was gonna say like, what stood out to you the most about it?
The most about the novelization. Well, let's see. I think what I like the most it is a different like it's something different from the film is when we get into this relationship between I guess it's really not a relationship, a conversation between Ripley and Bishop, where they're
Hmm.
talking about how the aliens operate, and they're discussing like they're comparing it to insects. Like, do they have this hive mind? Are they super intelligent? Are they not intelligent? Why they cocoon humans? Like, are they hiding in that heat facility for protection? Because if it blows up, then
Yeah.
there it's like a way of defense of like, oh, nobody can come in here and destroy us because if they do, they'll destroy themselves. Or um, if they're just wild animals, just kind of doing their thing. I thought that was a really cool conversation that they had, and I can understand why they didn't add it into the film because I guess it would be kind of a sense of a foreshadowing that they didn't want to reveal the queen alien because they get into that conversation a lot too. Is there a queen and how are they laying the eggs? Where did the queen come from if there is one? So I think they probably just remove that out of the film because it's like, oh, let's let that be a surprise.
Yeah, it was. What stood out to me, like when I was reading it, was, and what I mean is like one of the biggest differences. I noticed Newt, the character Newt, had more conversation and dialogue in the book than she did in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, I just rewatched the film today and finished the book, so I didn't really catch like what was in the like. I do know that there was like she had more conversations with Ripley. Like I remember there's like this one scene where she was like giving directions, and she was like saying just like she's like I've been on this, or this planet longer than you. I know everything. And then Ripley was just like, well, that was before I was here. So I
Mhm.
can't quite remember if that was in the movie, but I just remember it's like, I didn't remember as much dialogue coming from Newt at that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, there was something else that I want to point out too that I thought was interesting with the way that Foster would put things in there that I felt were deeper in the book than in the film. Like what is her Vasquez,
Hmm.
Vasquez, if I'm saying that right, Vasquez and Ripley have a stare down in the like. Okay, I should backtrack. I'm sorry. In the ship when they're on their way to Acheron, she's trying to give like this little speech about how the aliens are going to be,
Yeah.
and Vasquez is like, "Oh, all you have to do is show me where they're at," and just like being real cocky.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's a point in the story later on when half the crew's wiped out. Like her and Vasquez and Ripley have this stare down about something, and like Vasquez is kind of like, you know what, Ripley is she's right about a lot of things, and she just kind of like looks away. The way that he writes that moment is that the one who we thought was going to be more superior is like now no longer the alpha. She's like submitting her, like, okay, you are in control. I am just trying to survive now.
Yeah. I caught on to that too. I thought that was a good character moment,
Yeah.
and like I remember it said in the film, just like Ripley was like, I really hope that you do take these out, and and that, but it's just like I love it's like love seeing the arrogance in some people, like in
Hmm.
these stories and everything. Like they think they're like, oh yeah, I'll. It's like Quint from Jaws. Like he believes that he could take down the shark, and then he realizes that he's way over in his head and everything, and it's
Yeah.
kind of got similar vibe than that. Not quite as in depth, but yeah, I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. Now, do you believe there was anything in this book that might have hurt anything from the original story that you think might have like kind of brought it down a notch from the film?
Honestly, no, not from the novelization. If anything, kind of hurt the story. It was something that I didn't really care for early on in the story, and that's just I just get kind of tired of that whole overused concept that like just like you know s- like when Ripley was trying to explain what happened, and there's always people that have to say like, oh, that didn't happen, you just you went crazy, like
Yeah.
that didn't happen. And it's just that's used so much, and it just kind of makes me like it kind of annoys me to the point where I'm just like, come on people, like clearly something happened. Or like you don't think it's like the fact that she's the only person that survived the events of the first film, that you're like, well, maybe we should conduct at least an investigation. But they're like, just like, and I remember even showing it in the film that they were just like, she tries to tell her story, and then like you see a screen that said closed. And I'm like, that, like I said, that's the biggest part that kind of hurt it for me. I get it why they add those things, because we need that arc to where the hero is proven right, and everybody's
Yeah.
just like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
but it's just that's just I don't know.
It
It's a
makes
little bit of
sense.
an overused concept for me, but it still worked, but it's just
Yeah.
again.
Um, I agree with what you're saying. For other things that I appreciated in the book, I think that it was interesting and really sad when Newt like gets separated from Ripley and
Hmm.
she's calling out for her she's like calling for mommy. I was like,
Yeah.
man, that's pretty sad. It's like her parents had both been killed and her brother by the aliens, so she's just kind of like this orphan that's running around trying to survive on her own until the crew shows up, and Ripley kind of basically adopts her,
Hmm.
and is acting like the motherly figure. And Newt was hesitant at first, and then all of a sudden she's calling her mommy. And luckily she gets saved in the end and doesn't get torn apart by aliens. So
Like the android did.
right, Bishop, which that was also interesting too. I think there was the discovery of Bishop being this synthetic human in the film was, didn't he cut himself, right?
Yeah, he was doing the knife thing. Like,
Yeah. And so it like nicked him. So he had that synthetic like blood that they have. It's like milky looking.
hmm
And in the book, it mentions that she sees that he has this tattoo, which marks him as a synthetic. And I didn't think that was as powerful as it was in the film. I like the idea that he like, oh, she sees that he's cut, and then she's like super pissed about it.
yeah,
Like how come nobody told me this? And in the book, it was kind of eased out of like, I don't like him. He's synthetic. It's like, the film did a lot better job because of the distrust with what happened in the previous movie.
yeah. I honestly forgot about the mark that he had that identified him, but yeah, I did think you definitely um I did like that scene better in the film too, because you definitely felt more tension, because
Mhm.
like knowing what happened with the first android, it was I thought Sigourney Weaver played that part pretty well. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just in the book, it was just like wasn't as
Yeah.
powerful.
Right. I think I put down also. I like the explanation of the armor that the troopers were wearing, because even when I was
hmm
watching it, I was like, man, there's like no organization to what they're wearing. Like no strict rules. It's just like they made up their own uniforms. And in the book, it actually says that it's like there is no purpose to their armor other than to like they customize it themselves, how they feel comfortable on the battlefield. And I was like, okay, that works.
I I 100% agree, because whenever I saw them suiting up in the movie, I was just like, the armor didn't really look that, epic. But I
Right.
do agree with you. It was actually just better described in the book than portrayed in the film. So we'll definitely give you that.
Yeah. Also, probably helped like give them originality and sell toys, because I know that they had alien toys, and I had some when I was a kid. So
I will also say this. I don't know if this was in your copy, but I know that in the audiobook, um, for like in the last chapter, that like the story ended like a lot sooner than I thought, and then it just said, "That's the end of this story. Now let's talk about Aliens 3." Or like, here's a segment from Aliens. Like, oh, that's cool. I like how you're kind of getting a
yeah,
novelization and a quarter. So
yeah, building up to the. That's what's interesting about these older novelizations being turned, into audio formats, is they could do stuff like that now.
hmm
It'd be nice if they could continue to bring us those audiobooks of older novelizations,
yeah,
the ones that are kind of hard to find.
yeah. And also just a quick shout out. 80s slasher librarian has been,
Does a pretty good job with that.
yeah, does a really good job, with all these novelizations that's hard to find. So yeah, definitely go check him out if you guys haven't found him yet on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the I thought the novelization was pretty good. I don't know if it was what it was, if it was just, maybe it was the fact that maybe Alien was just an original story in its own.
Hmm.
So maybe Alan Dean Foster maybe had more creative control with how he wrote it. It was kind of similar to Dragon Slayer. Uh,
Right.
we both agreed that that felt more like a novel than it did a novelization. So maybe
Yeah.
it was just Alan Dean Foster, was just like, okay, this. I don't know if he was just working on other projects, but it just kind of felt like, you know, he did, put his own touches on it, which I thought, made the novel, a lot better.
Hmm.
But you definitely get that vibe. It's a novelization.
Right. I think the one last thing that I have, that I would like to mention about the novelization, that I don't remember from the film, it mentions smaller drone aliens that were around the queen. They were like ignoring Ripley as she was walking through. They were like sorting the eggs. And I don't remember that in the film. I just remember like aliens popping out at her and she'd like shoot at them. And then she turns around slowly and realizes, oh, crap, there's a queen there. But it was
Oh,
calling those little aliens drones.
drones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I don't remember seeing them that much in the film either, and I just like I said, I watched it a few hours ago. So,
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Like, are they? It mentions in the book that they're smaller. Like that was their job, was to kind of organize the eggs. I thought that was an interesting addition. Um, Probably wouldn't have been good on the film because we see those aliens as all just wild, crazy beasts that are just out to kill. I can't imagine them being like, "Oh, let's put the eggs over there in that corner," and ignoring the threat in the room. You know?
hmm like, oh hey, you're not supposed to be here,
Yeah,
queen,
yeah,
queen,
yeah.
you know.
Your Honor.
um, so yeah, I bet here comes the big question is, I got two questions actually.
Okay.
One, how would you grade it? And two, like, would you grade it kind of similar to Alien?
Well, for me, I think this is a fantastic sequel novelization. I appreciate it a bit more than the film, honestly. Um, I think part of that is because of the words that were used. It did censor the language quite a bit, which is more enjoyable for me to go back and read it and not have to read all these bad words over and over again. And if a kid wanted to read or see the film, it's like, hey, how about you read the book instead? It's cleaner. Um, Obviously it's gonna be a little bit less graphic, which that doesn't bother me in the films, but I think Alan Dean Foster did a great job. I like the way that he would describe things. We'd get into the character's mind to explore their thoughts. New conversations were added to the book. Um, I would say that the book is better than the film. I know that you're going to disagree with that one, but I give it an A plus. I
A
do. I
plus.
really enjoy. I really enjoy this novelization quite a bit.
Um. Okay. Awesome. Like I said, I was I didn't think the novelization was bad at all. I thought it was very good. And like I said, it just didn't feel like it captured the same magic that Alien did. But it's still very well written, very well paced, very well, like you said, the descriptions were great. And I'm just barely gonna go underneath you and just say I give it an A.
Okay.
Because I'd still give it, like, if it was star system, I'd still give it like maybe 4.9 out of 5, or 5
Yeah.
stars. Just, I don't know, I just felt like there was something kind of missing from it, but
Yeah.
it didn't,
It,
like, it's one I would definitely still recommend, like, especially if you're a big fan of the franchise and only seen the movies or played the video games, like, definitely collect this book and read it, because I think you'll definitely enjoy it.
oh yeah. I think it's a great book. It's still, I think it's still in print too. Like they keep making reprints of it because I know the cover that's out there in bookstores is like a big close up of the alien's face. I've
hmm
got I've got like one of the original type copies. So just a black cover that says aliens at the top.
I don't know why I like those versions better than showing the xenomorph.
Yeah, keeps that
Uh,
mystery.
yeah. Um, I think with my copy of Alien, I think it's just like the black cover with like a green egg or something like that on it. But I don't know. I like the like the one on Audible is I'm gonna try to pull it up here. Let's see. I'm gonna try to pull it up here. It's yeah, here it is. Yeah, it shows that the xenomorph. It's probably a little blurry on the camera,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, I like your copy a lot better. It just I don't know, just with the xenomorph, it kind of looks like the spin-off novels that you would see at like
right,
Barnes and Noble or
right.
something like that. But
Yeah, yeah. Because there's tons of alien books, and I know there's going to be some more coming out, which I think we talked about that in the live stream last week. And
mhm.
since we're on the subject now, talking about aliens, yeah, one of those books is called Aliens Vasquez. So, oh, that's funny because we just read Aliens, and she's one of the stars in this film
Is
or
it supposed to be
story.
a prequel or something, or
It's gonna have to be,
I was like,
unless it's gonna be like she secretly survived, but then that big atmospheric thing blew up. So that they compared that to like an atomic bomb going off. So
Yeah, I was like that. She shouldn't have been able to survive that. And,
right, right.
um, but
Unless an alien just picked her up and ran off across the world.
well, I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
But
Yep. One of these days. So that I guess that wraps up the novelization discussion for Aliens. Thanks for joining us. Next month we are going to be doing Batman
Christmas in
Returns.
September, yeah. Christmas in September.
So that'll be exciting. This is the novelization written by Craig Shaw Gardner.
Yep. He also wrote the novelization for Batman '89, and he also wrote a novel called The Batman Murders. So he definitely is no stranger to writing Batman. So
that's good. That should be a good sign.
And little secret, I've already read the book.
Oh, okay.
Well, and I've already I reviewed it a couple of years back, so it's going to be fun to revisit it. And,
do a revisit, okay?
Yeah.
Re-rate it.
Re-rate it, yeah.
See if it went up or down.
But yeah, it was an easy read, so I have no doubt, like, when you pick it up, you'll be able to, like, scroll through it, you know?
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Looking forward to that conversation. Check us out over on Spotify, where you can find, or wherever you listen to podcasts, we should be around, for single cuts, where folks from the podcast go on there and review other novelizations that we don't really talk about here in the discussion zone. I don't know why I said discussion zone. I guess that's what we call. I guess that's what we call this part. So you'll still find Jeremy over there doing stuff. You'll find Adam doing stuff. I have not done a single cut yet, but I need to one of these days. So go over there and listen to some of that exclusive audio content. We might be mixing things up here in the future, where we add those in video format as well. But I'm not going to make those promises. We'll see what happens in the future. So, Adam, where else can people find you?
Well, I just restarted my very first channel, just doing film reviews and some vlogs. We'll post the link down. It's just my name. So again, we'll just post a link down in the description below. You can also find me at Red 5 Reviews, where I review mostly Star Wars content there, mostly Star Wars books, and occasional surprise reviews here and there from non-Star Wars stuff. But yep, that's where you can find me.
All right. You can find me over at the Geeks Attic YouTube channel. Provide links down below. And hopefully, if you haven't heard of us or seen us before, go check out those other channels. And Jeremy over at Stupid Chainsaw Productions, also a co-founder of the Paper Movies Novelization Book Club. Well, that's going to do it for this month. We'll catch you guys later.